Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Very exciting. Starting a whole new course here on the Tanya. Before we start the actual Tanya, which we're going to do next week, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to start with introducing what Tanya is. What is this book? What is the excitement? What is it all about? And in order to do that, we're going to start with talking about who wrote the Tanya. So let's first do a little bit of a short biography of the author of the Tanya, who is known as the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneir Zalman of Liadi. So Rabbi Shneir Zalman was actually originally born in Lyozhna. Lyozhna is a small town in White Russia. He was born in 1745. He was a descendant of the great Maharal. Maharal of Prague was the famous creator of the Golem. Have you heard of the Golem? He was the one who created the Golem. And so that was his, I think, 5 or 7 generations back, great-grandfather. After Rabbi Shneir Zalman got married, he wanted to study Torah, as was what people did then. He wanted to go and spend some time studying Torah. And so he had to choose a path. Where was he going to study? And he had 2 options ahead of him. One of them was to go to the big city of Vilna. In Vilna, there was a great Torah scholars, big yeshivas where he can sit and study Torah. Or there's another direction. He can go to the city of Mezhebush. Sorry, not Mezhebush. That was to go to Mizrich. To go to the town of Mizrich. What was in Mizrich? In Mizrich, there was a great rabbi who was known as the Maggid of Mizrich. He was the successor to the Baal Shem Tov, he was the leader of the Hasidim. And he had to decide between these 2 paths. So his decision was, you know what? In Vilna, they're going to teach me how to learn Torah. But the truth is, I'm already a great Torah scholar. I know how to learn Torah. In Mizrich, they're going to teach me how to pray properly. And I can use some studying in how to pray properly. I can gain more in that area. So therefore, he decides he's going to travel to Mizrich and he's going to join the Hasidim. When he arrived in Mizrich, he was one of the younger students there. He was one of the younger, people that were in that community. But he quickly made his way into the inner circle, and he quickly found his place amongst the elite of the students in Mizrich. He was there until 1774, when the Maggid, who was his teacher, passed away.
How many years was that?
So at this point, he is now 29 years old. He's 29 years old. The Maggid passes on, and he leaves behind all of his students. One of the students, his name was Rabbi Menachem Mendel from the town of Vitebsk. He was appointed as the leader of the Hasidim, the new head of the group. But a short while later, Rabbi Menachem Mendel and a group of students decided to travel to Israel, to move to the Yishuv in Eretz Yisrael, to join the community there. First, the Alter Rebbe was considering joining. Eventually, he decided to stay. And once Rabbi Menachem Mendel left, he became the de facto leader of all the Hasidim in White Russia, and really the whole Russian Empire at that point. Slowly, his fame grew. More people came to seek his counsel and to reach out to him and to study Torah from him, as well as just to find a spiritual connection. And more people were coming to visit the Alter Rebbe in Lyozhna. It came a point where it was too much for him. He was basically spending his whole day meeting with people and teaching people and showing people the way, and he felt it was too much. He can't do it. He can't spend so much time. He needs to do other things as well. He needs to study Torah. He needs to work on his own things. And so he decided, he came up with a solution to start writing down information so that people can study his writings and get their answers in writing. As opposed to, you don't have to come and visit me. You can read what I wrote down and get the same information from the writings. Now, of course, reading a book is not the same as sitting in a meeting. You don't get the same connection, the same information necessarily. Also, when you're reading a book, you're getting the information as you understand it, not as it's being given over to you. So there are definitely um, there are limitations to receiving it in a book, but he felt this was the only way forward, and he set up a system where there are rabbis throughout the area that if you are reading the book, you come to a question, you don't understand something, you go to the local rabbi, he will help you continue your study and continue your path of growth. And so he started writing these small pamphlets. He didn't publish it. It wasn't printed. It was just handwritten pamphlets that were copied over and passed around from one person to the next. And these pamphlets started growing in popularity. There were many copies going around. But when you have handwritten copies, what happens over time? There's errors, there's mistakes. Things start cropping up in there that don't belong. Not only that, there were also people who were opposed to what he was doing because he was bringing a new way of life, a new path to Judaism. People got nervous and they were opposed to these new ideas that he was spreading. And so not only was there errors in the text, there were even errors on purpose. People were changing the text and putting out copies with misinformation in there to try to discredit him. Because of this, he said, we can't continue this process. We have to publish it properly, print it in a book. And this way, we don't want to have all these errors in there. We want to have people changing the text. We'll have one proper text everybody can learn. So this is where the Tanya originated. This is where we have the book of Tanya from. Originally, the book was published without a name. He did not include his name as the author of the book. He didn't want it to be connected to him. He just wanted the ideas to be out there. This way, those who opposed him wouldn't necessarily oppose the book because it's not connected to him. Eventually, it came out to who it was and all that. In the year 1798, his opponents decided to take it up a notch, and they decided they're going to inform on him to the government to try to take care of him that way. And so they did. He was arrested in 1798. He was arrested by the Tsar's government. They took him in for questioning. The allegation was that he is supporting the enemy. The enemy at that time was the Ottoman Empire, right? The Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire were not getting along. And so the message came across that he's supporting the Ottomans. Where did this come from? What was the source of this idea that he was supporting the Ottomans? He was, at that time, the people living in the land of Israel were very poor. There was no money there. It was a very difficult place to live at that time. So he was sending them money. He was collecting vast sums of money and sending them support so they could live. Where was the land of Israel? Under which rulership was it at that time? Under the Ottomans, under Turkish rule. So, since he was sending money to Israel, the allegation was he's supporting the Ottomans against the Russian Empire. So he was arrested. There was a trial. There was a whole another time. We can spend a lot of time talking about his arrest and all that. But ultimately, he was exonerated and he was released. They didn't give up. 2 years later, he was arrested again. More allegations, but again, he was released. After his second arrest and release, he moved to another town. He moved to the city of Liadi, which is ultimately why he's known as Rabbi Shneur Zalman from Liadi, because this is where he served as rabbi until almost the end of his life. Why almost the end of his life? We come to the year 1812. What was going on in 1812? In Russia in 1812? There's another history here. Napoleon, a French general, was coming and conquering Russia. He was trying to conquer Russia. At that time, there was a debate amongst the rabbis, who should we support? Should we be supporting the Russians or the French? Many rabbis thought it would be better to support the French. Why? Because Napoleon was freeing the Jews from all their from the abuse and from the word I can't think of, but from, persecution they were receiving from the Russians. However, the Alter Rebbe felt differently. He felt that the French come in, the French, Napoleon, ultimately he wants to take away the Judaism from the Jews, which, by the way, many years later was actually proven correct, as we have more information now of what Napoleon did. He met with the rabbis and he tried to make changes. Also, again, for another time, but a very interesting era in history of Napoleon's plans. But the Alter Rebbe chose to oppose Napoleon. In fact, there's a famous story where it was Rosh Hashanah was coming up. And, we know that although we see things in this world as being very physical and very materialistic, everything is controlled by the spiritual, the higher realms. Everything is going on up there. And so there was two great rabbis, the Alter Rebbe and Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, that they were debating who's going to win the war. Is it going to be a French victory or is it going to be a Russian victory? The Tsar or Napoleon? And they were going back and forth on this idea. And it was decided Rosh Hashanah is going to come. Whoever is going to blow shofar first is going to win the war. Right? The Alter Rebbe was representing the Russians. Levi Yitzchak Berditchev was representing the French. Whoever blows shofar first on Rosh Hashanah morning, his side is going to win. So Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev woke up very early in the morning, started services extra early so that he can quickly get to the shofar and blow shofar first. Meanwhile, the Alter Rebbe didn't change his schedule. He kept the regular schedule. He got up as he planned, blew shofar before davening, did an early blowing before the prayers began, and this way he blew shofar first. It's a humorous anecdote that they say about this era. But be that as it may, the Alter Rebbe was opposed to Napoleon. Napoleon heard about this. He was not happy. He knew that the Alter Rebbe had a large following in Russia at that time. And so he was not happy that he was in opposition. And so he decided to capture the Alter Rebbe to arrest him for opposing his and so the Alter Rebbe chose to escape further into Russia. And he started traveling deeper into the country, away from Napoleon. Ultimately, on that travel, he got sick along the way, and he passed away in the year 1812 in the town of Penna. And he was buried nearby in the small town of Hadich, where he is still today. Have you been to Hadich? That's just been there. I haven't. The Alter Rebbe was known as a master of many different things. You know the expression, a jack of all trades, master of none. The Alter Rebbe was a master of many different things. He was a master in the revealed Torah. So we're talking Talmud, Halacha, law. He actually wrote a book called the Shulchan Aruch Harav, where he took all the different commentaries and all the different opinions regarding Jewish law up to that point, and he condensed them all into one book, which was a phenomenal book at that time that he came up with. Unfortunately, most of that work has been destroyed in the fire, so we only have part of that today. But the part that we have is studied, and it's a phenomenal work in law. He was also known for his Talmud study. When he first came to Mizrich to study Chassidut for the first time, he was, as we mentioned before, he was quite well learned, but he didn't know much about Kabbalah, about the inner parts of Torah, because he was never part of this before. He was always studying the revealed part of Torah. So when he first arrived, they set up for him a chavruta. Chavruta is a study partner, where you have one-on-one, two people sit down together and they study a text. So they set up for him a study partner where he was going to catch up. His name was Rabbi Avram. He was the son of the Rebbe of Mizrich Magid. He was going to help him with his Talmudic studies, and he was going to help the Alter Rebbe with his Kabbalah, with his Chassidus, with his inner, the secrets of the Torah, the esoteric parts of the Torah. And this way they would each help each other. They would kind of, boost each other up. And so it was. They had a daily study every day for 2 hours where they would study these two works. And it says that the Alter Rebbe enjoyed the esoteric part so much. It was new to him. It was exciting. So he would actually, when his study partner wasn't looking, he would actually turn back the clock to gain more time, to extend the study period. But he was well known for his ability of the study of the revealed parts of Torah, Talmud and law and things like that. He was also obviously a master of esoteric Torah. He wrote the Tanya. We're going to be learning here, which is very deep esoteric stuff. He was well known even in his secular knowledge, in the sciences and in philosophy. There's a famous story. It's a longer story, so I'm trying to just do small anecdotes. But there's a famous story where there was the son of a chassid who was known as an Eli. Eli is a genius, a child genius. You have sometimes a child is born with phenomenal abilities, and they're just able to grasp things that are way beyond their age and their stage. So there's a child who was very smart, and he was able to pick up, study vast amounts of Torah. But he was also a curious child, and he wanted to see what else is going on out there. And he came across the work of some heretical works that he came across, and he started to stray from the path of Torah. And ultimately, he left home and he went to study university, and he became a great professor in the university. And he wrote two great works. I believe one was in the sciences and one was in math, if I remember correctly. And he wrote these two books, and he was completely alienated from his family and from the Judaism, from everything that he knew beforehand. He was living in the big city. One day he decided he was going to. He was passing through Russia. I think he was going from Germany to, I don't know where he was going, but he was kind of passing through the area, and he decided he's going to stop by and visit the old Rebbe, his father's old teacher, just to show him, look who I am, look what I've become, look what I've accomplished. I'm not, part of that backwards world anymore. I've become something special. And so he came and he stopped by this town. He stopped by Liadi, and he came to visit the Alter Rebbe. Nobody knew who he was. They see a well-dressed, doesn't even look Jewish. The professor came in, and he went and he had this private meeting with the Alter Rebbe. And he was there for several hours. He comes out, and he's pacing back and forth outside, pacing and pacing, and takes one of the books out of his pocket and throws it into the fire. And then he's pacing and pacing some more, pacing back and forth, and then he takes the second book and throws it into the fire. And then he asked to go back into the Alter Rebbe. And he was there again for several hours. And then after he came out, he stayed in the area. He didn't leave, and he became a Baal Tshuva. He stayed around for a long time. Later, until eventually he passed away. Later, the Alter Rebbe explained what happened, who this person was, and what was the background. This guy came in with his two books. He came in with his science book, and I believe it was the math book that he brought in. And the Alter Rebbe picked up the book, and he kind of flipped through it. He took it, he was kind of looking through it quickly, and he says, "You made a big mistake. Right over here on this page, it doesn't line up with what you wrote over here on this page. There's something that's contradictory, and this doesn't make sense." And then he takes the second book, and he does the same thing, kind of flips through it. He says, "This is a mistake, and this is wrong." Guy, what are you talking about? It can't be. And so they argued about it, and then he went out of the room, and he started thinking as he was pacing back and forth. He's thinking about what the Rebbe told him. And he realizes the Rebbe is correct. His information was wrong. He made a big mistake in his work. And so he took it, he threw it in the fire. The whole thing was and then he does the second book, and he throws it in the fire, and then he became a Baal Tshuva because he realized that everything was all everything was fake, and he had the real thing in the beginning. The Alter Rebbe explained that this man was actually the soul of again, I'm saying the story quick, so there's a lot of details I'm not putting in, but I just want to keep it moving. There's a story in the Talmud of a great Talmudic sage who was one of the greatest sages, and it was a whole story how it happened, but ultimately he left the path of Judaism, became a heretic. His name was Elisha ben Avuya. He became a heretic. And for the rest of his life, he left the path of Torah. The Alter Rebbe explained that this man's soul was the soul of Elisha ben Avuya. His soul came back down as a cleansing for the soul. This was his tshuva. This was his repentance that he had to do in order to cleanse his soul, to go into Gan Eden, to go into heaven. This was holding him back for all these years. And so the soul was sent back down to repair what he's done. But once again, he ended up making the same mistake, becoming a heretic again. However, after coming to the Alter Rebbe and having his wake-up call, he was able to return to the path of Torah and return to the path of God. This story is totally not connected to what we're learning here, but I'm mentioning this story just to show you how the Alter Rebbe was well-versed in all different areas of knowledge. He was also he was quite knowledgeable in language, in the Hebrew language. The Alter Rebbe wrote a Siddur, a prayer book. The prayer book that we use in Chabad was written by the Alter Rebbe, which, it's not completely new prayers. It's the same prayers, but he makes some changes. A lot of those changes are grammatical changes because the Hebrew wasn't as perfect as it can be. He corrected the Hebrew in the prayers. He was obviously a great writer, a leader. He's the founder of Chabad Chassidut, and he was also a music composer. We have 10 beautiful melodies that we sing that were composed by the Alter Rebbe himself. So this is just a quick overview of who the Alter Rebbe was. Now let's look at this book. It's called the Tanya. We all know it as the Tanya, right? But that's not really the name. It's not really called the Tanya. The real name is actually, you see it says on top of Tanya, it says Likutei Amarim. Likutei Amarim means a collection of sayings. It's a collection. The Alter Rebbe was he was obviously very humble, and he's just a compiler. I just compiled together other thoughts that other people had, and I put it together in one book. Obviously, it's a lot more than that, right? This is a lot deeper than anything that existed until that time. You can't find the Tanya in any other previous book. You can find the ideas expressed in Tanya. There's sources and everything. Everything has, a place where the ideas are based on. But ultimately, it's a completely new work that was composed by the Alter Rebbe. But he chose to go the path of a more humble path to make it about just a collection, a compilation from other people. Who are these other people? Who are the other books? He actually says it's from books and from sages and scholars. Who are the books and sages and scholars? Obviously, there's the Talmud and the Torah and all those things. There's also, he's quoting the Maharal, who we said was his great-great-grandfather, right? The Maharal of Prague. There's the Shalah, the Arizal, the Baal Shem Tov, the Maggid, and many others as well. These are some of the main sources that he quotes in the book, the Tanya. The other official name for the book, it's two official names, is Sefer Shel Benonim. Sefer Shel Benonim means the book for the Benoni. What's a Benoni? We all know of a tzaddik. We've all heard of a tzaddik. Tzaddik is a holy man, a righteous man, the guy who does everything good, the perfect guy. We all heard of the Rasha. The Rasha is the wicked person, the one who doesn't follow the path of Torah, the one who's not a good man. What about the rest of us? Where do we fit into this?
Mediocre?
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to get there. We're going to get to that word mediocre. I don't like that word. I'll tell you why in a minute.
No.
We're going to talk about that. But in between, we have the Benoni, the guy who's not here, not there. Right? He's not the tzaddik. He's not a Rasha. So, mediocre. Right? Is that where we all fit in? We're all just, part of the mediocre. We're not here, not there. Kind of just, the rest of us, the losers.
No.
No. Not at all.
No.
Not what it means. The Benoni is actually, it's actually very, it's actually very deep. The fact that the Alter Rebbe takes the Benoni and makes it into something different than was ever existed until that time. Until that time, the Benoni was mediocre. He was somebody who was still on a path. right? Ultimately, the goal of every Jew is to be a tzaddik, to be righteous. The Benoni is someone who's not there yet. He's working on it, right? You're kind of mediocre. You're not bad, but you're not good yet. You're not who you need to be. This is the way it was viewed until that time, and the works of Musar and other things that were out at that time. The Alter Rebbe took a completely different approach and said the Benoni is not mediocre. The Benoni is not just someone who hasn't made it yet. The Benoni is something that is special of his own. The Benoni is the guy who is on a constant mission to serve God. It doesn't come naturally to him. He is not a tzaddik, and not only that, he is never going to be a tzaddik. As the Alter Rebbe is going to talk about, once we start the first chapter, we'll see, he said, some people are never going to be a tzaddik. You can't be a tzaddik. Most of us do not have the ability to be a tzaddik. It's not possible. It's not even a goal. So what is our goal? Our goal is to do our best and be the best who I can be. Be the best me. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be the tzaddik that I'm never going to be. Be myself. Serve God as I am, as I'm meant to be. We all know about a battle between good and bad, between good and evil. There's a divine soul, there's an animal soul. But the Alter Rebbe says, no, it's not about good and bad, good versus evil, animal soul versus divine soul. Rather, it's a mission to train our animal soul. The divine soul is trying to train our animal soul to be more in tune with godliness. Deep down, everything is connected to God. Our animal soul is also connected to God. We'll explain all these terms, by the way, as we get further into Tanya. What is an animal soul? What is a godly soul? I don't want to do the whole Tanya in the introduction, so I'm mentioning some terms that if it sounds weird to you, don't worry, we'll get to that. Don't get stuck on the term. The goal is not victory. The goal is the battle. The goal is to bring our animal soul to be more, to recognize a little bit of the godliness within it. It's not to necessarily transform it, because you're never going to accomplish that goal, and therefore you're going to fail. Right? God doesn't give us a goal that we can't achieve, because it's not the goal. The goal is to be our best us. So there are actually 5 parts to the Tanya. There are 5 different books within here. Some were originally part of it, some were added later. But we are going to be focusing on the first part, the main part, which is the part that's referred to as Likutei Amarim, Sefer Shel Beinonim. That is the first part of Tanya. That is where we're going to be focusing. In that first section of Tanya, there are 53 chapters. Those 53 chapters are similar to the number 53 portions of the Torah. There are 53 different sections of the Torah. Sorry, 54% of the Torah. We have 53 chapters of Tanya plus the introduction. It makes it 54. If you ever open an instruction manual, get a new device, open the manual, which nobody ever does, but you get a manual with it. See, actually, they stopped sending a manual. We just got a new fridge here the other day. There's no manual, nothing. I guess they expect you to go online. They know everybody else is going to do it anyway, right? So, open an instruction manual. There's a basic structure to an instruction manual. First, you start with the parts, right? It shows you the different parts that are in this device. Then you have the functions of the device. Then you have troubleshooting. And then you have best practices. The Tanya is built in a similar fashion. It's an instruction manual for life. We're going to divide the Tanya into 8 parts. We said there's 53 chapters. We're going to divide the 53 chapters into 8 parts. The first part, which is the first 8 chapters, is our spiritual composition. The parts, who we are, what are we made of? The next section, from chapters 9 to 17, are going to be the struggle of the 2 souls. As we mentioned, we have our animal soul and our godly soul. The third section is the natural love of Hashem. Then we have paths to happiness. This will take us 26 to 34. The 5th section is making a home for Hashem in this world. The sixth section is intention in our prayers and Torah study. The seventh section is fear and love of Hashem. And finally, the last section is revealing Hashem in this world. This is the different steps that we're going to go through in this process. We mentioned before the great Hasidic leader, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Barditcher. We mentioned before that he was the opponent of the Alter Rebbe in the war between the French and between Napoleon and the Tsar. When he saw the Tanya, got his first glimpse of the Tanya, his reaction was, how do you fit such a big God in such a small book? That was his, he was like, wow, such a big God in a small book. That's the way he looked at it. The Tanya is known also as the written Torah of Chassidut. When it comes to the Torah, we have two parts of Torah. We have the written part of Torah, the Chumash. You open up the 5 books of Moses, you read through it, it's all there. God said to Moses, do this and this. But there's also the unwritten part of Torah, the explanation of what it means. If you try to open up a Chumash, a Torah, and read what it says, it's kind of confusing. It doesn't really make a lot of sense without some explanation. So the explanation is the unwritten part of Torah, the oral part of Torah. We have the same thing within the inner parts of Torah that we're talking, the esoteric parts of Torah. There is the written, revealed part of Torah, and then there's the explanations that come later. So the written part of Torah for Chassidut, for the inner part of Torah, is the Tanya. And in many ways, it's similar to the other written part of Torah. It's very precise. Every word has meaning. Everything is very specific. It says that the Alter Rebbe, when he was writing the book, he spent hours and hours deciding on one letter if there should be a vav there or not a vav there. If he should add a vav means and in Hebrew, right? So if he should put the vav to say and or not put the vav, if it's necessary or not. This is how precise he is in the writing of the Tanya. Just like when you learn Torah, there are many layers to learning Torah. You have a basic level of learning Torah. Then you have deeper layers. You keep digging down deeper and deeper. The same thing with Tanya. You open up the Tanya, there's a basic reading of the Tanya, and every time you read it, you can peel another layer in the onion and go a little deeper. I mentioned in my email last night, every time you learn Tanya, it's a new journey. I've learned Tanya so many times. I've been studying Tanya for probably about 30 years.
Wow.
But every time I study Tanya, it's a new experience. It's always something new. That's why I'm really excited to do this class, because it's a new journey for me as well. I'm learning along with you. I'm not just saying things that I know. I actually spend time preparing and I'm learning it because it's fresh. It's always something deeper, a new way of looking at it. The Tanya is foundational. Everything else is built on it. All the other works of Chassidut we have for the past 200 years, since the Tanya, over 200 years, is all based on what it says in the Tanya. And just like with the Chumash, with the Torah, with the revealed part of Torah, as we move on in the generations, we keep adding more and learning more, understanding more, and deeper explanation. The same thing with the Tanya. The Tanya is one of the most printed books in history. There are over 8,000 editions of the Tanya. Wow. In over 10 languages. This book here, this Tanya that I'm holding here, was printed in, go check before, in 1984. Okay, the reason why it's so fat, Tanya is not this big. This is a big book of Tanya. The reason why it's so fat is about half the book is actually not part of the Tanya. These are just title pages, copies of title pages from all different editions of the Tanya. In 1984, this is showing the editions of the Tanya that were printed at that time. By now, this would be double or triple the size. There are Tanyas printed all over, including, this book is just for the fun of it. This is a Tanya that was printed at Google. And this is a Tanya that was printed at Facebook.
When it was Facebook.
No, I think it's the same Meta on it. Yeah, it just Meta. Facebook Meta. It was right at the time. It was as just as they switched.
Why did they print them?
So the idea is to print Tanya everywhere that you can. Have editions printed in every place because it is such a holy book. By printing it in a new location, you're bringing the sparks of holiness to that location as well. So the idea is to print it everywhere where Jews gather for any reason. There should be a printing of the Tanya.
People at Google and Facebook did this stuff.
Here we go. So Tanya is printed all over the place, many, many editions. It is such an important work, such a foundational work for all of us.
And are they in Hebrew or in English?
These are just Hebrew. These are just printed in Hebrew. These are those, it's very small text. These are not usually used for actual study because it's so small. It's kept as a, it's more of, not a memento, it's more than that. It's like, almost like how would you
It's energy.
yeah, exactly. It brings the spiritual energy from, yes, it's something you hold on to, and it's something holy that you can keep. They sell it in New York. I just showed it to my son a couple of weeks ago. It's a couple of months ago when I was in New York. He's never heard it before, but they have these, it's a card. The entire Tanya on a little card this big. What they do is it's a piece of microfilm inside the card. And you need to like use a microscope. I don't know who you used to see a microscope to see the actual text. It's so tiny. It's on this little piece of microfilm inside this card. So you can't actually learn. It's impossible to learn from it. But it's all there. You can take it with you, keep it in your wallet, and wherever you go, you have the Tanya with you. So it's got kind of like these an energy, like you said.
Marvelous. Wow.
Okay, so on the very first page of the Tanya, before we even start the actual Tanya, there is the title page. This is the original title page of the Tanya. Okay, and this part here is all extra. This is the actual right here. These few lines. This is what the Alter Rebbe wrote as the title page of his book, and he wrote like this: Sefer Likutei Amarim, the book of Likutei Amarim of collected sayings, Chelik Rishon, the first part, Hanikra B'Shem Sefer Shel Benonim, which is called by the name Sefer Shel Benonim, the book of the Benoni of the middle path. Melukat Mipi Sfarim, it is collected from different books, Umapi Sofrim, and from different scholars, different writers, Kedusha Yad Nishmas Eden, that are holy souls that have gone up to heaven. Miyusad al Pasuk, it's all based on a verse in the Torah. The entire book is all based on one verse in the Torah. What is that verse in the Torah? At the very end of the Torah, one of the last verses in the entire Torah, Moshe is talking to the Jewish people. And he tells the Jewish people, listen, it's not such a big deal. It's not so hard to serve God. It's not a big deal. Everybody can do it. Ki karov elecha hadavar miyod. How does that translate?
Close.
Elecha
You.
hadavar
The thing
meod.
is very close.
Very close. It is very close to you. Anybody can do it. It's attainable. It's reachable by any of us. It is close, very close to every one of us. Beficha, in your mouth, in your speech. Uvilvavcha, in your heart. La'asoto, to do it, in your action. Any of us can do it. It's no big deal to serve God. What's the big deal? Any of us can do it. We can speak the good speech. We can think. We can have good thoughts. We can have good feelings in our heart, and we can do the good actions. No big deal to serve God. We can all do it. Everybody agree? Seems like a bit of a stretch, right?
Is one more important than the other?
Good question. Good question. It's a package.
Actions.
Ultimately, it's a package. It's a package. And as we're going to keep studying, you'll see that thoughts and speech are also actions.
Thoughts and speech many times can lead to action.
But it's also an action, right? The act of speaking is an action. The act of choosing your thoughts to dwell on is an action, right? People always say, think positive. How can I think positive? I have negative thoughts. The answer is push away your negative thoughts and think positive, right? But we're gonna talk about it. This is all as we go further. But the point is, the Torah tells us it's no big deal. We could all be perfect. The Alter Rebbe says, hey, hold on, how's that possible? What do you mean it's so easy for all of us? It's so easy for all of us. How's it so easy? It's not so easy. It's not no big deal. It's a lot. It is a big deal. I can't just do that. But the Alter Rebbe says we can, and we can all do it. Every one of us can, and we have the ability to get close to God and to attain this spiritual awakening of being close to God. But Levaer hetev, to explain well, Echu karav meot, how is it karav meot? How is it very close? B'derech arucha uktzara be'ezrat Hashem yisparech. In a long, short way. I'm going to explain it in a long, short way. What does that mean, a long, short way? So this is based on a story in the Talmud. It says in the Talmud, Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania, he says that I was once traveling on the way. And on my travels, I came to a fork in the road. I needed to get to the city. I didn't know. You go right or left. How do you get to the city? So there was a small boy sitting there. I turned to the boy and I asked the boy, which way do I go? How do I get to the city? So this boy says, well, if you want to go the short, long way, you go that way. If you want to go the long, short way, you go that way. He says, what are you talking about? Okay, I'm going to try the short, long way. I tried the short, long way. Sounded better. So he goes down the short path, and it very quickly takes him to the edge of the city, where he finds at the edge of the city, there's orchards and fields and all different obstacles in the path. And ultimately, you can't get into the city from this side. You're right there, but you can't get in. It takes you right to the city. It's short, but it's long because you can't get in. So he comes back up the path, comes the other way, and he tells the boy, what did you do? He said, I told you, it's the short, long way. You're not going to actually get in because it's too long. So he goes the other way. It was much longer, but it took him all the way into the city. He says that he blessed the boy, and he says, you're a very smart boy. And it's the story of the Talmud. The Alter Rebbe says, there's a short, long way. You want to take the short, long way? You can do that. You want to get instant inspiration? You want to feel inspired and excited, and you can do it. There's many ways to get inspiration, to go to a workshop and feel like, wow, I'm on fire, I'm going to do this. But it fizzles out. It doesn't take you there. It's not going to get you to the destination. It's like when you're trying to start a fire, you're trying to build up a nice fire to cook or to get warm, and you put in straw. Straw will light very quickly, but it'll also go out very quickly, right? It's not going to accomplish your goal. You'll have flames burst up. Wow, it's beautiful. I got it going. And then it fizzles out. The Alter Rebbe says this is not a quick help book. You're looking for a quick fix. You're looking to get inspired and go home and feel, wow, wrong book. You got the wrong book. Yeah, I took this quote from one. If you are seeking a book that will provide immediate inspiration, make you feel good, and guide you on an easy path to self-improvement and spirituality, you have found the wrong book. This is a path that is long. It's going to take work. We're going to have to get raw, open up ourselves, get ready to have uncomfortable conversations about who we are and what we are, and really do the hard work to make real change. And that is going to completely change who we are. It's going to change our reality, change our the way we see the world around us, the way we experience the world around us, and who we are as a person, if you're ready to do the hard work. That's what Tanya is all about. So this is not going to be like, wow. It's going to be digging down. And that's the long, short way. This is what the Alter Rebbe gave us. This is, as we begin our journey, get ready for deep conversations. Get ready for seeing things in this new way. And with that, we can become a new person, become something fresh. When the Alter Rebbe was preparing his book to go to print for the first time, he wanted to get, on the back of the book, you have sometimes people they put the, what do you call them?
Approbations.
Here it calls an approbation, but there's a more common word that's used, people give what do you say?
They're blessing, like the
No, it's like, huh?
Review.
Kind of a review, but approving the book. I don't know the words, but there's a word for it. What's that?
Inscription?
Not an inscription, but recommendation, sort of. Like people recommending the book. There's a word for it. It's not coming to me right now.
A review of the book.
Something like that. He wanted to get from his colleagues He wanted them to, what?
Feedback.
Kind of like, yeah, to talk about, how, to write this book is a book that people should read.
You want the reviewer of the New York Times,
Exactly.
give them a one sentence.
Exactly. So who did he choose? He chose two great rabbis, who were colleagues of his. One of them was Rabbi Meshulam Zusha from Aniapoli, who is possibly my great-great-grandfather. And
Possibly?
it's family family tradition.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I said possibly?
There were two brothers, Meshulam Zusha and Elimelech. The Elimelech part, I feel more confident on. The Meshulam Zusha part, it's in the family tradition, but I'm not as confident about it. So I'm not sure. But but let's say.
Okay.
Why not? Definitely in the family. And the other one is Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen. They both lived in the city of Anipoli. And he sent copies of this book, of this the what do you call them? Like the
Manuscripts.
manuscripts. He sent the manuscripts to these two great rabbis to give their approval. And they each received their manuscript and they started reading it. And they were like, wow, this is amazing. So Meshulam Zusha is reading the manuscript and he says, wow, I have to go show this to my friend. So he goes and he starts walking down the street towards Rabbi Yehuda Leib. Rabbi Yehuda Leib, meanwhile, gets this copy of the manuscript and he's reading. He's like, wow, this is fantastic. I have to go show this to my friend, Meshulam Zusha. And so they're both are walking with this manuscript and they're both so excited and they have this joy in their heart and they're going towards their friend and they reach this bridge in the middle of town. They both have to cross the bridge to get to the other one. They each come to the bridge and they come to the bridge and they're just so inspired. They start dancing. Each one is dancing on the other side of the bridge. They don't see each other yet until they finally meet in the middle of the bridge and they express such joy about this new work that is coming out, this new inspiration that is going to change Jewry forever. Rabbi Yehuda Leib said about this book, his review of this book was, there's a famous story of the Baal Shem Tov, who was the founder of Hasidut. The Baal Shem Tov, the story is that he rose up through the heavens, he went to visit the soul of Mashiach, of the coming Redeemer. And he asked Mashiach, he said, a Masai Ka'atzimar, when, a Matai, when, Ka'atimar. That's actually Aramaic, so you're not going to get that.
Yeah.
When will the master come?
Yeah.
When are you going to come and be here with us and reveal yourself? Mashiach's response was, L'chesheyafutzu ma'inatecha chutza. When your well springs will spread outwards. When your inspiration will spread out to the whole world, that will be the coming of Mashiach. That's when we're going to reveal the Mashiach, the future redemption. Rabbi Yehuda Leib said, when he saw this book, this is that. This is the well springs of the Baal Shem Tov that are coming forth. These are the well springs that have to spread out throughout the whole world and bring Mashiach. So by learning Tanya, we are coming up to the beginnings of the redemption. By us learning Tanya and spreading Tanya and living Tanya, we're bringing about the redemption. May it happen very soon, any day now. So we're doing time-wise, 11:59, so I think we're going to stop here. And Bezrat Hashem, next week, we're going to start with the actual Tanya. We'll open up the first chapter of Tanya, just to mention a few things. I'm not going to focus on reading the Tanya inside, because especially if you're not used to it, it's can be a little bit tedious when you're kind of reading the Hebrew and translating and all that. So we're not going to focus on reading the Tanya inside. We're going to focus on the ideas in the Tanya, and we'll kind of make our way through it as best as we can. I do want to encourage those that are interested, those that are up to it, to read the Tanya on your own before the class or after the class to help you, grow together with it as we go. There are many options for studying Tanya available today in English. This is one great book that I like, written by Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. Is a beautiful explanation of the Tanya in English. There's also another great option is on Chabad.org. You have a beautiful translation of the Tanya that they're still in the process of writing. It's not the full thing yet, but starting at the beginning, you have no problem. It's all there. And it's a beautiful, modern, new translation of the Tanya, and with a lot of explanations as well. If you read these two books, or either one of them, it'll help you a lot in that path of studying Tanya. And like I mentioned, there's so many layers to the Tanya. So whatever you read or learn on your own or come to our class, and you just, every time you look at it again, you'll see something fresh, something new, something exciting, and that's going to help you along that path. One more thing I want to mention, we did, I do want to set up, if there's interest for it, might have seen on the forum, a WhatsApp group where we can discuss the things that we learn in the class. We can talk about the things that come up in this during our lessons. We can live it, inspire, mention a story in there, mention another anecdote that connects to what we're learning. If anyone would like to join that WhatsApp group, let me know. If we have a couple of people, we'll set it up, and a way of continuing the inspiration. And with that, we'll see you all next week. Bezrat Hashem. Same place, same time.